Today it's estimated that there are more out LGBT people in the world than ever before, and it's predicted that the influx of out queer people is because of improved societal values. While it's hard to speak on behalf of the entire world, Western values have extended to the LGBT community, which have created a more accepting society. As a gay woman, I've always wondered what has encouraged attitudes towards the LGBT community to change in comparison to, say, 10 or 20 years ago. Popular culture is something that has certainly played a part in the progression of the community. In this documentary, I'll be speaking to other LGBT people to find out how their stories are helping to pave the way for the progression of the entire community. Welcome to Queer Culture. I'm here at the Guildhall in Southampton to visit my friend Ophelia from the band Blocks. I want to know what her experience as a gay woman has been while on the road and what influences she's had as a front woman to be open with her sexuality.
I guess it became more of a thing when I was like a teenager and everyone started kind of embracing the LGBT scene. So I don't think I remember much about it, no. I guess Lynn Gunn from Paris, I mean, she's quite open about it, and I guess it kind of makes it a lot easier when, you know, other people have the courage to do it. So a lot of people misconstrue like my attitude as maybe me trying to be a guy, but really it's just my sexuality, I guess, coming through, shining through.
So for me, your boyfriend feels like a gay anthem. Is it your intention to appeal to LGBT fans?
Yeah, I guess I try and, you know, create lyrics that are relative for everyone, but that song in particular is is kind of very like, yeah, I don't like your boyfriend. You should maybe try and date me. No, that is quite a gay anthem, that song. Playing his games, oh yeah, I've seen him playing his games. Playing his games, oh yeah, I've seen him playing his games. I feel like it will obviously become much more of a wider kind of thing. I mean, with all of the, you know, movements and activists now that kind of try and promote equal rights and stuff, it's going to just progress forward in that kind of fashion, so it's a good thing.
Now, I'm on my way to meet with someone I again met through Twitter. When I initially reached out to Lenny, it was because I'd seen her podcast, Fresh Brew. On there, she discusses her transition as a trans woman along with other LGBT issues and politics. Also vlogging on YouTube, Lenny has seen how important it is for LGBT people to have a platform. I want to find out why she chooses to use these platforms and what her response has been to LGBT restrictions.
I wanted to explain how I'd come to transition, because even some people have found it interesting how I'd come to transition, and for a long time I persecuted myself thinking I'd made a lifestyle choice. I wasn't confused in that sense, I just didn't find my story in a lot of what I was seeing in the trans community. You have to remember, when I first transitioned back in 2004, the thing to do then was to go and live in stealth. You disappeared off into the ether. I didn't want to do that. I was different as a trans woman in the community then. I was out and proud and wanted to say, I am a trans woman, I'm proud of my identity. It's only now that I've been able to express that more, so I wanted to put my story out there, and I wanted to also show that my story was also similar in other ways to other people's stories, and other people I hoped could relate to where I was coming from and understand where I came from and their own transition in what I was saying. If you search for stuff online looking for podcasts, there are only a very few LGBT podcasts, and they are mainly American. There's not a lot of trans content out there. So what I wanted to do was try and do an LGBT podcast that would focus on the community. So at first it started off with just focusing on the LGBT community as a wide spectrum. Recently I've targeted it more at the trans community, because what inspires me is the hostility we're suffering at the moment in the trans community. We seem to have replaced the gay community as the whipping boy of the media, or whipping girl of the media, and we're constantly put upon and made to be the bogey person in the room, and I want to try and challenge that. I also like to think I like to grab society by the collar and rough it up a little bit. It's annoying because it's not necessary. It's like we're restricted as to what we do. We can't get our voice out there. I continue to do it as more of a finger up at YouTube. I will continue to put my content out there, and I will publicise it as best I can off my own back to get people to view it. But for the trans community, there's nothing in the UK, nothing at all. It's all voluntary. I don't get paid for any of the stuff I do. YouTube's already told me they're not going to start monetising my page until I've reached over 10,000 views. So my content is what I put out because I feel it's relevant and I enjoy doing it. It's important to get the content out there so that the community has a voice that is equal and parallel with the mainstream voice, especially now that the mainstream voice is beginning to wither and die. And as long as we can keep our voice loud and proud on social media and on the internet and on different platforms, as the press wanes and disappears and the subscriptions to newspapers fall, our voice will still be out there being heard.
I'm meeting with someone I met through our shared interest of music. Myself and Nicola first started speaking just over 3 years ago after being mutual friends on Twitter. Since then, we've shared our love of all things social media, music and TV, and today we're going to find out just why, as a lesbian, she relies on these platforms.
So when I was discovering myself around 14, 15, 13, around that age, I didn't have access to internet at home, so I found it really hard to accept myself, and it took me a lot longer than I think it would now with seeing a lot of representation of who I am. So I didn't I didn't know any gay people growing up, and there wasn't as much on TV, even though we're talking 10 years ago. It was quite different. So I think now accepting yourself would be easier. In Twitter bio or whatever, you can just put straight away who you are, who you identify as, and pronouns or whatever. So without meeting in person, it can always be a bit awkward to be hi, I'm gay or whatever. But with social media, you can put across whatever part of yourself you want. When people follow you, they know that part about yourself. But when you meet people in person, every person you meet, it's constant coming out thing. So it's just easier online. On Facebook, I met this guy called George when I was just discovering who I was and things, and he was going through exactly the same at that time, and we was just there for each other through the whole accepting ourselves and finding out who we were and stuff. And then we was at even though there was a distance of nearly 200 miles, we was there for each other when we came out to our families and stuff. And when I met him finally, after going through the whole journey together, it was liberating in a way, just to for both fully accept ourselves after finding it so hard in the early stages.
I'm here at the Stage Door in Southampton to meet with Pride Committee member Danny Langrish-Beard. He wants to discuss the importance of the integration of the LGBT community in Southampton.
The original reason of Pride was to be counted, was to say I'm here. They would cause controversy, they would dress up as nuns, they would do everything to kind of push buttons to kind of be we're here kind of thing. And without that happening, things wouldn't have changed. So I don't say it represents everybody, and some people aren't interested, but the idea is to still show that there are differences and to celebrate those differences and include everyone. A lot of people seem to think that because a lot of the LGBT community have equality, that we don't need a Pride event. The fact that 70 odd countries in the world where it's still illegal to be gay. There's obviously recently where they talk about the Commonwealth and how many Commonwealth countries where it's still illegal to be gay. Suicide rate in transgender teenagers is still really high. Suicide rates in LGBT youth is really high. Anytime the story comes out in local press, there's a lot of negativity and a lot of name calling. And even myself, I've been with my partner for 24 years, and we've never held hands walking down the street in that time. We're married, but I still wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. So I still think there's a need for it. I mean, it's a celebration, yes, but it's also, there's a political reason. It's to be standing up and to be counted and say it still needs to happen. The way to do it, I mean, I've been to Prides in the past, And there's nothing wrong with different prides, and there's wrong that are particularly adult and to like the gay men kind of section, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we wanted it to be a family event where anybody could come, where a grand could come and they could bring their grandchildren and feel totally comfortable and not see things inappropriate as such, but then also to see different types of people and different type of groups of people. And we want to encourage that. So hopefully in the future it will be someone's sexuality, gender is so unimportant. It should just be that person. But I think until then we have to make the point of the differences to then integrate more. And I think in the future that's what I hope to be. I hope there won't be a need for pride. I hope there won't be a need for different flags and different that kind of stuff. I hope it's just everybody all included into one. But I think that's something in the future.